Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I have another amazing guest here today, and let me just talk to you a little bit about her. My guest today is Anne Wooten. Anne empowers Christian men and women to break free from self-doubt and discover their purpose in Christ. She is a certified Christian coach, author, blogger, and musician. Her journey began with a struggle for people-pleasing, leading to burnout and a disconnect from God. A pivotal moment came in 2019. Finding forgiveness and releasing past hurts, Anne experienced a profound peace, transforming her from unloved to knowing a new kind of love, God's unconditional love. Inspired, she launched One Day at a Time, a blog sharing her faith journey and creative passions, including songwriting. In 2023, God called Anne to a new path. Leaving her accounting career after 50 years, she became a certified Christian coach, ready to guide others from living distracted to living with confidence and finding the treasures of God's peace. Her book, Where Faith Takes Flight, reflects her transformation. Today, Anne helps Christian men and women transition from feeling defeated to living daily with intention, clarity, resilience, and purpose through faith-based coaching that empowers and transforms. A beacon of faith, she continues to write, play music, serve in her church community, and find joy in nature. Anne believes in God's unwavering faithfulness and the empowerment he provides while encouraging others to embrace their identity as beloved children of God. Welcome, Anne. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation and ready to get right down to it.
Well, I just love what you share. I mean, it's all about I can relate to so much of what you shared about in just your bio is like those people who are just like the people pleasing. We're like the yes people. We don't want to hurt people. So we're always saying yes, but we really need to learn how to create boundaries, right? Because we become overwhelmed and then we're just saying yes to so many people, but we forget to say yes to us, right? Um,
Yeah.
so tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about your journey and how you went from like the people pleasing and the burnout into who you are today.
Well, and also during when you're people pleasing, you're saying yes to others and not to God because you're looking for the validation from them. You're placing so many expectations so high on them, yourself, and it doesn't matter if it's family or friends. But when you do that, you're only hurting yourself. And it all, for me, it's always starts with a mindset because your mindset controls what your heart is going to be, how your heart's going to respond. And then that's just how you're going to respond to others. And when you do that and you stay stuck in that spiral, like I did for so many years, it's a spiral that goes on and on and on. And it's like it doesn't stay all the time like it did with me. There would be times, I call those times back my backslidden days or backslidden times. But each time, like you would break free from that for a little bit, but then you would go and you'd step more boldly into your faith. And then you'd come back to that backslidden, and it would always revert back to something for me in my past. And with most of my clients, that's where it really reverts to something in their past that triggers a moment. It could be abuse, it could be a number of things. It could just be rejection that causes them to start doing that people pleasing. And mine wasn't rejection so much. It was, I wanted my family to be a certain way because my friends they received love from their parents a certain way. I think it was just the one way my parents were raised, and maybe in their generation, it's not that they didn't care or love about me, but yet I craved that when I was a child. And I took it, well, you don't love me, then your resentment, then your bitterness builds up. And what does that do? That you start buying into the lies. And that is where the inner critic becomes your worst enemy. Because if you, it's like, if you start buying into that, then here comes Satan firing those darts of his, and he is just making you believe them more and more. And those lies get louder and louder. And over my period of life, I was saved when I was young, but at the same time, you don't really understand the gravity of it because it wasn't one of those wow moments like some people have, but it's just a gradual growth in your faith. But during those backslidden times, they each time would get more intense and it would last a little longer. Till one time in 2019, if I didn't do something about it, that time I said the word, I don't think I would have done it, but I reached the lowest point late that year and I said the word suicide because I'm single, live by myself, no children. So the four walls became my best friends or my worst enemy, as some would say. I don't think I would have carried it out because my faith was there. But at the same time, that scared me. And so I just had to say, whoa, back up a minute. What is causing this? And the problem was, I think I knew deep down in my subconscious what it was. But until I faced up to it and walked through it, and I call it walking through forgiveness, because anything that's unforgiven is going to separate you from God because it's sinful. Therefore, I had to actually, and it was messy, it was painful, it was hurtful, but it was something that I needed. That was the only way to break free from it. Not for good, because you're going to remember your past,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't define whom God says you are right here, right now. And I stopped from that day forward. And it was a wow moment because I knew I was forgiven because God blessed me when I pulled into my subdivision of my home that day. I actually went and did this process where I grew up about an hour away from where I live now. And I stood over my parents' gravesite because unfortunately both of them had passed by then. And I did the I did the forgiveness and I asked God to forgive me, but also I asked him to help me forgive myself. Because we've got to give ourselves grace. We're going to make mistakes and we
Mm-hmm.
learn from those. And from that day forward, um, well, when by the time should say, by the time I got home that day, God blessed me with a rainbow when I pulled into my subdivision. And I know rainbows represent God's covenant to us. Um, and it's like, it was one of the most heartwarming experiences, one of them I've ever felt. It's only twice that I felt something like that when making a big decision, but that one was the start of the journey forward. Now, granted, it was a gradual thing because God won't put everything on you at one time.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it started, but I had to find out what that was and realize that I can't stay stuck there because God has other plans for us to do. And I had no idea it would go from accounting to what I'm doing now, but I can see now what I couldn't see then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a wonderful but hard, journey. Life is challenging. That was challenging, but it's okay. It helped me start growing back to where I should be in my faith instead of hiding behind it and trying to earn God's love when it was already there in the first place.
I
You know,
love that. I love that. And I can truly understand, and I think my listeners can understand, is that we hold on to the past so much. And it could be, and because we're holding on to the past and not forgiving ourselves or forgiving others, and just letting it be. And because it's not us to judge, right? Nobody is a perfect person and we all make mistakes. But to know that God is the person that we just need to ask for the forgiveness from, and he will grant it to us in order for us to move forward. And I think that that's very important. And another thing that you also said that was like how a lot of our things that we do um, could be like the people pleasing. It could be because we didn't feel loved as a child, or all of these things. It could trigger those things. And so then when somebody asks us for something, we don't want to let them down because we're scared, or we don't want them to be out of our lives. We want to hold on to that. And so we just say yes, 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 when we really, like you said earlier, we're not saying we need to say yes to God. Is if God is driving us to wherever we need to be, like we need to make sure that he is leading the path and not saying yes to everything else when it really isn't serving us. And sometimes we have to step back and really look at that instead of like, yes, I'll do this, yes, I'll do that, yes, I'll be there, yes, I'll do that. And it's one of the things that I used to be a yes person, and I was like, wait, I'm like, not only am I taking care of myself, I'm not going to, like not taking care of my faith, because I'm saying yes to everybody. I'm so stretched thin, but also to my family and the people that are under my roof. So I think that's very important. And you help people with that, right?
yeah, that's actually my story now is what I help people with because I help people more or less. Um, what I've learned is there's something blocking. They want a deeper connection with God. And if they wanted that deeper connection with God, then there is something triggering that. And you've got to get to the bottom of that trigger, but they need someone to ask the right questions, not to judge them, but to ask the right questions. And that's what a coach does. We ask the questions, but they've got to be willing to do the work to walk through it, but we walk alongside of them, holding them accountable, but doing it, I think, with the agape love of Christ. And that's the way it should be done. Because, like you said, I'm not here to judge or condemn because that's not me. That's not up to me because I can't control what somebody else does. I can only control my actions, my thoughts, and my words. And it's one of the things I learned through, and I just learned it recently, and I would never have said this. A lot of people pleasers are codependent
Hmm.
because we try to avoid conflict, and you'll try to do anything to avoid that conflict to a certain extent, of course, and that means you just don't want to make anybody mad, and you want to keep those friendships because you don't want to be with because connection. We need connection. We
Hmm.
need that because we're made for that. But at the same time, you don't want to be put that pressure on yourself or you don't want to put it outwardly on them. And that's why we do the people pleasing to try to satisfy, not make anybody mad, per se. And when I read that, I'm like, doggone it. I guess I was really codependent in those days. And when there's something, and in those days when you've got that a fear or that people pleasing, and you're in that mode, you set up barriers and walls instead of boundaries. Because I didn't even understand what boundaries were. I couldn't set them up. We set up the walls to protect ourselves instead of the boundaries, because we've got to respect and accept people for who they are. We might not approve of everything that they say or do, but that's where the boundaries come in between the acceptance and the approval. And then that's where you can set up the boundaries, but only until you really walk through something. You may be, the walls may be there, not the boundaries.
Yes, yes. You said something earlier, just a little bit before, about agape love. Can you explain to the listeners what that's about for those who don't know?
Agape love is just the unconditional love that we get from God. And agape is just one of the words that they use. And that unconditional love that we get from God, that's the kind of love that He asks us to spread, to give to others. And like whatever we do in service, whether it's in whatever work we do, or whether we do it as a missionary or a ministry, we do it within God's love. We want to be as most of the godlike characteristics as we can, or I strive to be that way, but doesn't always doesn't always work, but most of the time now it does. But that's what we really strive to be, is more godlike, and his love is so unconditional. I mean,
Hmm.
Easter really, the way we celebrate Easter and remember the resurrection and what I mean, and I just, it really boggles my mind because we can't understand it, how Jesus took the weight of our sin and shame with him to the cross that day. And that's what we do, remember, on Good Friday. And it's like, I just, that's the greatest love of all. And that's the kind of agape love that
Hmm.
God wants us to spread to others.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Feeling overwhelmed by endless to-do lists and constant distractions? You're not alone. Many professionals and entrepreneurs struggle with never-ending tasks that spill into personal time, difficulty prioritizing what's truly important, a lack of clear structure in their daily routines. Well, let me introduce you to your Unlock Your Time Potential program, an 8-week coaching program designed to help you reclaim your time and boost productivity. What you will gain is proven strategies to manage your day effectively, techniques to eliminate distractions and stay focused, tools to align your daily actions with your long-term goals. Ready to take control of your time? Join the waitlist today and be the first to know when enrollment opens. Don't miss the opportunity to transform your productivity and achieve your goals. Check out the link in the summary notes. Yes, yes, yes. Many of us, if you are churchgoers, we celebrated just, not celebrated, but Good Friday, and understanding what Good Friday is about, and just really understanding what the whole meaning is truly like, it's just crazy. And when I was listening to it, and not to go into it, but just really quickly, is that when on Good Friday, when Jesus was on that cross, the only family members that he had there was his mother.
Mhm.
And so everybody's always about pleasing everybody else. And Jesus only had his mother there. And of all the people, and it just like, it just kind of makes you think about, like, who am I trying to please? And at the end of the day, the only person, or the only buddy that I need to please is God. And I think that
That's
that's
right.
so important. And it just really, like, when I was listening to that on Friday, Good Friday, I was like going this church service, and I was like, when you really think about that, it's like we're always trying to, like, it's not about the next person or your friends, or keeping up with the Joneses. It's like, just live every day to please God and be there for God, because
Yeah.
that's the one that we need to be there for, and we need to be living in his purpose, and, like, like the love, and like it reflecting everything we do as if God was doing it, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And it's the hardest relationship we will ever have to try to maintain, to be that godlike, but it's the greatest love that you'll ever have. So that's the thing I would like to put on. It is a very hard, it's challenging, but so is life. But that because we all want to be so much like, but the thing is, we don't have to earn it. We just do it messy. We make mistakes and we learn from those mistakes and move forward because your past sometimes can be used as a blessing to be used to help someone else. And so, for what I'm doing, is I'm actually just kind of paying it forward, if you will, because I want people to be part of the global impact of furthering God's kingdom within their own communities, however God wants to, whatever gifts or talents that they may have. That's really ultimately what it's
I
all
think
about.
I think that's so important is that I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought real quick. I was just thinking it was so important in sorry, ADHD brain sometimes, but our past, you know, sometimes it's like, and then I know people are like, why, if all of these bad things happen, or, there's all of these things that we struggle with, or, everything that happens in life, like, why would God allow that to happen? And we don't know the answers, right? We don't know, but I know that there's been moments in my life where there was like hard things that happened, and I talk about this on my first episode of my podcast when I miscarried at 5 months pregnancy, miscarried, and I was like, why did this happen? But later, the way that all that worked out, I was able to have my daughter. um that it was just like I didn't understand it, but I understood that everything wouldn't have been right, and it was in God's timing. And my daughter came later, a year later, but it was just, we have to don't always understand it, basically. And sometimes it's like he knows the plan that he has for us, and he says that in Jeremiah 29:11. I think it's 29:11,
Yeah,
29:4. Yeah.
yeah,
I know the plans I have for you. And so sometimes we just have to like stop asking the questions and just kind of go through, and then we'll have that conversation, when we get to
yeah.
heaven.
Yeah, we as humans always want to know the why. But if we change that, God, what am I supposed to learn right now from it? What are you trying to tell me? If we change that from a why and shifts our focus from the problem back to God where it should be. And because God will allow certain things in our lives, I believe, to test us, but to grow us in our faith. Because that's usually how we humans learn is from our failures. And
Mhm.
I know those have been my greatest lessons I've learned. They may have been some of the most painful, but at the same time, they are the best because they stick with me. Because now I don't want to go back. And if I kind of, see myself going prone to go back to those old ways, I try to take captive those thoughts as we're commanded to try to do and throw out the bad ones and keep the good ones that God wants me to. And that's 2 Corinthians 10:5 paraphrased. But that's exactly what we're supposed to do. And it doesn't always work, but we're forgiven. We have grace.
And I think it's important we just take it one day at a time. And if we make a like if we have a bad thought, and like not to dwell on it, like, oh my gosh, why did I think this? Like, okay, you had it, dismiss it, and just think about the happy thoughts and don't dwell on it, right?
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's so important. And and like I agree, like some of the biggest things, like the trials and all the things, like those are lessons to help us move forward, and lessons to actually teach other people. Like, hey, I went through this. I don't want you to go through this anymore. Or I don't want you to go through the same trials and tribulations that I had to go through, and to help each other. And so with your type of coaching that you do, you help people. Is there you target men and women, so you do both. What some people are more women, coach women, but you do both. And how do people find you, and how do they get into your coaching program?
Well, I've been at this for about a year now. So I just was certified last year in March of last year. So it takes time to, like to build it up, but they can get through, they can get with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, so, Instagram, or they can visit my website, at annewooten.com, and they can just schedule a strategy call with me, and then we just take it from there. Um, I am, I'm going to be launching a 3-step challenge called the Faith Lift Challenge Breakthrough to Confidence. And it does not replace what coaching can give you, but it can give you some information on faith lift and some areas that you can work on. And so, because we talk about the inner critic and fear, and then ultimately why faith unlocks, why it must be the foundation to unlock you. And then but it does not replace what coaching one-on-one can give to you. And it's that. And I'm writing my second book and now, so hopefully that's going to be launched sometime this year. And so all of those ways are that, but I take the coaching, and yes, you have your framework, but then each person, we're all uniquely made. It's brought it around just for them. I take
Mhm.
what I know and I bring that into to fit that person, and we just walk through it each time. And it's basically, like I said, they want that deeper connection, but
Mhm.
they need help understanding. We have to kind of piggyback a little bit and see and where their heart is, and then we move forward from there to experience that newfound freedom.
So is your coaching just one-on-one?
Most right now, it is
Okay.
just one-on-one. In the future, maybe it might be more group coaching as wherever God leads. But
Mhm.
right now, it's primarily one-on-one, and that the challenge would still be one-on-one. It's three steps or three different, sessions, and we break that. But that is something new I've never done. So it's like God is just bringing one extra thing new when I need it. So it's like I have some things even this morning, a word. Being a writer too, words mean a whole lot to me. And so I saw this one word in a devotion I read, and it's like, I think I know what God may want me to do with it. And so I'm excited, but he'll review the steps. It's like little steps, one thing at a time. So it's like I need to make sure I make a brain dump and put that in my notes so I don't forget it. But I'm
No,
excited to do this.
I think that's what's important is like I think that you said a couple of things that I wanted to just highlight is that your coaching, though you have a framework, you do it like you tailor your coaching to honor that person and the needs that they have. And I think that's so important as coaches. I do like time management, group coaching. I do one-on-one coaching as well, but most of mine are like on distractions, helping the business, all of these things. But I also like tailor mine to help the people because what some people may need certain steps to help them, like they may not have children where, and so I got to tailor the how to deal with the schedule when you're the only person that's going to hold you accountable, and things like that. So I think that's really important as coaches, and I'm glad that you offer that, is that you tailor it to the help the person. Another thing that you said that was really important is that you said that you have this other challenge that you're coming, but you also have a book. You have a book. You wrote one book already, and can you tell us a little bit about that book?
Yeah, before I got certified, my coach, whom I still work with, she suggested I had written my blog about a year and a half at that time. So I had a year and a half worth of material, which is quite a bit. And she said, pull those together into a book and self-publish it. So, yeah, so I did. I looked at it, and I love poetry. I love to write poetry. And what I saw was I had over 70 poems that I had written. And when I went back and I looked at the poems, they were all about my healing. And the healing now is what I'm coaching about. So God's plan, even back in 3 years ago, was to bring me forward. The blog was used to help me become more transparent. And that would be needed in coaching because you have to help others, be a little bit more transparent. And so I took those poems and I divided it up into three sections of the book. And it's the first is section is on gratitude, the middle section is mindset, and the last one is on guidance. Because I think gratitude leads to mindset, which can lead to help us with being guided correctly. And it it fell into place. And I love nature, all God's creation. So each poem has its own photograph, and some of them, and they're photographs that I've taken over the years. And so that it just that in itself, it can actually be used as a devotional, but that's really what it is. But those poems are part of my journey, and they're broken into those three sections because before I knew it, those were actually so many guidelines on what God is helping me do today. And so he has a plan then just as much as he has now. And so the book is called Where Faith Takes Flight, one day at a time, because one day at a time, we just need to learn how to walk daily with Christ. And a lot of people just don't know what to do. And so I just want to help them with the tools to to get to get there so they can do this on their own.
I love that. And I will make sure that I include all your links in the show notes as well as, the book and everything. But before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you, what is one word, a phrase, or a verse, something that my listeners can use to take action today that you would have for them?
I would say I love the word gratitude. And I wrote this phrase, it's let gratitude be the compass of your attitude. Because it always, like we talked about earlier, it starts with your mindset. Because if you can wake up in the morning with gratitude, it really does help set the day right. And also speak gratitude before you go to sleep at night. So start and end your day with gratitude, but let that be the compass of your attitude.
I love that.
I'm also a rhymer too, so
No, I love that. I think that's so important. And I'm going to remember that because I like that. It's just simple and easy to the point. And it sets the direction, right? The direction
yeah.
of our day, and it helps us go to sleep at night. So just having that gratitude. Don't think about everything that went wrong. Think about what went right and how thankful you are that you had that day. I think is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I thank you so much for being here. You're an amazing guest, and I can't wait for others to connect with you and all the coaching that you're going to provide. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Angelina. I enjoyed it, and it means the world. So I appreciate it so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.